Which HSK level does each of the Mandarin Companion graded readers correspond with? I brought in the expert, the producer of Mandarin Companion himself, Jared, and he's going to share with you, well, a little bit about how the HSK correlates to Mandarin Companion and why you should focus more on what Mandarin Companion has than what the HSK has. Let's hop into the interview.
You know, our levels don't perfectly correlate with the HSK level. And I have to say, I am not the biggest fan of some of the leveling standards of HSK. There's a lot of characters. Yeah, I know. I mean, anyone going through and really studying the HSK, pull up those character lists, you're going to find there's a lot of characters and things in there which I don't think are relevant to, you know, early learners that they're designed for. So anyway, so that caveat set aside, our levels are not based on the HSK levels, but they do correlate very well. The breakthrough level correlates very well with HSK2. Level 1 correlates well with HSK3. And then our level 2 correlates pretty well with HSK4. So now it's not a one-to-one comparison by any means, but what we have found is that the overlap of our leveling standards with those HSK levels is like a 95-98% overlap. So it's like, yeah, it's really significant. And the great thing about that is this within the Mandarin Companion graded readers, you are going to see that core vocabulary in the books and you get a lot of repetition in there. And so what I have seen with some HSK learners is that, yeah, hey, I'm reading these books because once again, in the previous video, Kwadwo, we talked about reading speed. All right. And one of the problems, I've talked to Chinese teachers about this who proctor for there's the AP Chinese exam for high schoolers here in the United States. But they say one of the big things that correlates with test success is that reading speed. Because students who are reading, or test takers who are reading very slowly and even if they know all the words, but they're reading very slowly, it takes a while for them to, recall those characters quickly. They don't do as well on the test because, if you can read faster and more fluidly, you can understand the question. You have more time to think about the answer. You can read the answers faster. You can formulate responses faster, everything. And your comprehension, your performance is just going to be better on the test. So that's what we've seen, one of the big things that helps with the HSK in our books. Even though the levels aren't perfectly correlated, it's just simply that fact of that you are building fluency and proficiency in Chinese at your level. And so you can take that base, and for all those HSK characters that aren't included in our books, well, you can easily add those and build those on top of the base that you are building and the fluency that you are developing, and you're going to have a better chance of passing that test.
Quick break from the video. Don't worry, we're getting back to the interview, but Jared is the creator of the You Can Learn Chinese podcast. I linked to his YouTube channel that has that in the descriptions below. Go watch that. And before you get there, subscribe to my channel, and thank you. And dare I add that when you're just studying for the HSK, where is that vocabulary really going to get you? You guys know who watch, I focus on communication, right? At least when you start to dive into Mandarin Companion books, that vocabulary is presented, it's wrapped up in this package of an intriguing story, something that you could use a lot more easily to connect with the Chinese person in real life than a dry HSK textbook.
It's true, Kwadwo. Once on our podcast, I interviewed a guy. He passed the HSK 5, but he's like, I am not HSK 5. He gamed it. He flashcarded his way up to, fill in the little gaps, and he gamed that test and he passed the HSK 5. And I listened to on a Chinese conference just a few months back, someone talking about the HSK in comparison to this test I brought up earlier called the AP Chinese exam. It's for high schoolers in America. And he said, here's how he now the AP Chinese exam, it is, there's no character list. There's no saying you need to know all this specifically. But the HSK, it is like that. HSK is more like a quantitative test. And whereas this AP Chinese exam is more of qualitative. So you have quantitative, qualitative.
What does that mean?
And what does that mean, right? It's just says that the quantitative is more like you need to know all of these things. Like they're testing you on these specific characters, where the qualitative is more testing you on how well you're able to use it. formulate responses. And of course, Kwadwo, that's why, like you and I, we're about communication. We're about that qualitative. Are you able to use the language to do what you want to do, as opposed to saying, how many characters do you know? How many words do you know? Because you can know a lot of words and a lot of characters and grammar points, but not be able to use them and formulate them into any effective questions or responses or communication.
Tap or click the screen right there if you want to know how to pass the HSK without crying too much.